All right, the president, we're told, is very close to decertifying the Iran deal. It could happen later this week, could even happen today. We don't know for sure. We do know that there's a great divide and controversy as to whether he can even legally do this. So Harvard Law professor emeritus and the case against the Iran deal author, Alan Dershowitz. Alan, very good to see you.
Likewise.
You wrote not too long ago that the sad reality is that even if Iran were to comply with the letter of the nuclear agreement, it will still be able to develop the capability to build up a vast nuclear arsenal within a relatively short time. This is the fundamental flaw of the agreement. I wonder if it is that the administration might seize on to say, no, we're not going to do it.
And another factor, just recently, the International Atomic Energy Agency was refused the power to look at military installations and came to the conclusion that it could not now certify that Iran was not now seeking to develop mechanisms which would enable it to develop an explosive nuclear reactor, namely a nuclear bomb. So we have a report of the International Atomic Energy Agency which supports decertification. The president clearly has the power to decertify. Indeed, he has the obligation to decertify if he doesn't believe it's in the national interest or if he doesn't believe that Iran is complying with the deal. And so I think he will decertify. The only question is what Congress does at that point. Congress then has a certain period of time in which it can try to reimpose sanctions or not. So it's a divided responsibility between the president and Congress. And I'm pretty confident that the president will decertify and has the obligation to do so.
Now, I know the way President Obama went about this did not go by international treaty obligation standards, so the Trump administration feels perfectly within its rights than doing what it's presumably going to do. Others say, sure, Alan, that it's a slippery slope, that it impugns the integrity of the U.S. signing on to any agreement, and it will make the world think twice. What do you think?
Well, it's all President Obama's fault. He could easily have gotten in front of Congress and tried to get a treaty. If he gets a treaty, then it binds future administrations. But when you live by the sword, you die by the sword. When you try to circumvent Congress, remember, Congress was overwhelmingly opposed to this deal, both the House and the Senate, overwhelmingly opposed. He prevented the Senate from having a vote on it even. And so it was simply his signature on the deal. And when you have a deal that just an outgoing president signs, then obviously the incoming president can make his own decision. Not only that, but Congress authorized the president to decertify. So the president is acting entirely within his rights. Sure, it sends a message to North Korea and others that when only the president signs a deal, you can't count on it continuing. But that's the nature of our constitutional system. If you want it to continue, make it a treaty. That's what the framers of our Constitution intended.
You know, we've certainly seen a lot of executive orders, memoranda, positions on the part of this president, on the part of Barack Obama. And I'm just wondering, you know, obviously everyone prefers the other solutions than the president by writ of a pen to do this. But it doesn't show any signs, maybe owing to the polarized political environment, of changing. On that aspect alone, whether it's a Republican president doing it or a Democratic president doing it, does that worry you?
Of course it worries me. The framers never intended for the president himself to be able to act as a super legislature. The president was supposed to simply administer the laws enacted by Congress, but now we see presidential authority all over the place, whether it be in immigration, whether it be in atomic energy. There are so many areas where the president legislates. That was not the intent of the framers of the Constitution, and it comes back to bite you because what the president can do alone, the next president can undo alone. That's why we have a system of treaties, 2/3 approval of the Senate, and a whole range of protections before we get ourselves into treaties that are undoable.
All right, Alan, thank you very, very much. Alan Dershowitz, best-selling author, Harvard Law professor. Again, the president this week, sometime, maybe today, for all I know, will officially move to do what Alan outlined there, to certify that agreement. And then, of course, the details on how you make it a tougher or, to the president's liking, a more, favorable agreement to us, which tends to be his modus operandi.